Hello everyone, Roxanne, Ed.
Hello.
We're here to tell you about a tool called the Change Story that you'll find on our website. It's a really simple, very effective tool for communicating about a change that you are about to introduce to your team or that you already have in flight. So it's pretty self-explanatory, we think, but we thought it would be good to do a brief video to introduce it to you so that you know what it is and when to use it, how to use it, and why. And so that's what this video is all about. So first let's talk about when to use it. We really think of 3 scenarios that this is good for. So first, if you have a change that's in flight that's been confusing to your team, this is really good for clarifying things for them. The second is if you're about to introduce a change to your team and you need to get clear about what you're ready to communicate. So this is really good for that. And then the third is if you need to have your leadership team or your management team lead the change with you. This is also really good for that as well. Of course, that is also something that can be part of the first 2 examples that I gave you. We wanted to call that out separately. So that's when you would use the tool. Do you want to talk about how?
Yes. So on the first page, you'll find some context information about the tool and what its use is. On the second page, you get to the actual tool itself. And what this is a series of questions, and how you would use it is to go in and answer all of those questions. What you're likely to find is that you don't know the answer to all of those questions. And that's perfectly fine. That happens all the time in the beginning of a change effort. So one of the other things that you might want to do is to do this work with your leadership team and answer the questions together. There's a couple advantages to that. They may know some information that you don't, and so you can have a more complete view of what's happening with your change. And it's also a good way for you and your leadership team to be aligned not only on the answer to the question, but really the meaning. So you may interpret it one way, and they may interpret it another, and the actual answer may be somewhere in the middle, but by going through this process, you and all of your leadership team will get clear on what the right answer is.
So that's how you use the tool. Let's talk about why you would use the Change Story. So to do that, I have 3 questions for you about scenarios that you might have encountered. First question is, have you ever introduced a change to your team and it fell completely flat? Maybe you sent an email out that you thought was perfectly logical and organized and justified the change, really clear, but people largely ignored it, or they asked you a bunch of questions that you weren't ready to answer. So that's one scenario. Second question I have is, have you ever been asked by your boss to change something about the way you're doing your work, and you thought in response, there's no way I'm doing that because it makes no sense? The third scenario I wanted to ask you about is, have you ever been asked by your boss to make a change only to find out that their boss and their peers weren't aligned with that request that's been made of you? All 3 of those scenarios are very real for people at work and very confusing, obviously.
Yeah, so I have been involved in all 3 of those scenarios. And so what I love about using the Change Story is it has several benefits that are all wrapped around this idea of providing clarity and getting rid of all of that confusion. So the first thing it does is it helps you to know what it is that you want to communicate, and when it is that you don't know some of the information, and when you do know, what is the right way to go about communicating that to your team. Second, it's going to help you get clear on the sorts of questions that you're going to get back from your team and what kind of answers you want to give, and even when it's going to be appropriate for you to be able to answer all of those questions. And then third, it gets you and your leadership team aligned. So if you're doing this work with your leadership team, you may find out that people are going to ask around to understand what's happening with the change. And if you and your leadership team are not aligned, then they're going to get different answers from you and your leadership team, and that's going to add to the confusion. Doing this work will help keep you and your team aligned and the communication clear.
Okay, so that's what the change story is, when to use it, how to use it, and why. So we hope this will be really useful for you. If after you go through this exercise you find you would like to talk to someone about your change scenario, we offer a 1-hour consultation that you can easily sign up for through our website. Make it really easy for you to sign up, really easy for you to select a meeting time that works for you. Beyond that, if you want to go a little bit deeper, if you need help with your change scenario that's more about really wanting to get into it, assessing the risk of your change and getting some real recommendations, we offer something called the change audit. That's also something you can find on our website. So if you go to our website and you look for the change audit webpage, you'll find all the details about those two offerings, and we're here to help for those things. So that's the change story. We hope it's really useful to you, and we hope it brings joy to your workplace. And we wish you a very happy and wildly successful change. Bye.
Bye, everyone.